Okay, my name is Glenn Gammon. I have been interested in this subject, shall we say, finance, investing, so forth, from junior high on. And this interest came out of the fact that I was in a single parent home and it was poverty-stricken home. So I was very sensitive. And I never did learn the principles anywhere of investing or finance or whatever. When I got into college, I took a class in accounting thinking I would get some of this information, and to a small degree I did. But the whole subject of finance, the whole subject of investing, those are two separate, complete worlds apart from each other. And you can major in one or the other at appropriate institutions. However, because of my interest, I wrote this book. Now, trend analysis is a very intellectual title for a very normal subject. And if you want to call this How to Stop Being Poor, God's Principles Regarding Poverty, trend analysis, you can figure it out for yourself. I do not have any handouts for fill in the blanks or anything on this first part. I don't really feel that there's any need for hi, who I am. So if anybody wants to take notes, this is going to be on YouTube, I hope, so that you can go back and look at it. And I hope there's a little streamer down below giving the YouTube address. Anyway, if you want notes, you can make up your own for this particular day's worth of work. And the history of me, I was born in Canada, came to this country on a Greyhound bus when I was 5, 6, something like that. Came to go into first grade, and somewhere, second grade, third grade, somewhere in there, I was a little bit ahead of everybody in the class, and so I was jumped a full grade in the middle of the year. Started one grade for about a semester, and then at semester break, Christmas time approximately, all of a sudden I was in another class a year ahead of me. I was seriously discombobulated. I never academically recovered. And when I say I'm not an intellectual, I graduated from high school with a 1.4 GPA, which basically means they graduated me out of high school because they didn't want me there anymore. But I was the class dummy. And please listen when I say that this stuff is so basic, so simple, so fundamental, foundational, whatever you want to call it, that anybody can get it. And I do mean anybody. If you're not getting it, please let me know, and I will go over it in easier speed, easier detail, whatever, because like I say, this is not rocket science. This is not brain surgery. This is very, very simple stuff. You go out, you buy a newspaper, you pay your money, you get it, you've made a transaction. It's that kind of thing. So I went to work after high school because I was not an academic. I didn't have the grades to get into college. And I got my back work seriously worked on by every employer I ever had until I retired the first time. I've retired twice. My first retirement, I signed the paperwork. I was walking out of the building, and I remember I stood on the curb and I thought, well, this door is closing. Where's the next one going to open? And I had no clue to the answers to that. I walked maybe 300 yards, 200 yards to my truck, had a little Ford Ranger, and by the time I got to my truck, I had figured out that the good old boys on Wall Street, they were laughing all the way to the bank with $1 million, $3 million a year bonuses on top of their commissions. So I just made a realization. That was all. I didn't get excited, didn't make any plans. I just, okay, that's there. Well, about 2 weeks later, middle of the night, on a Saturday night, I remember that very well. I'm sitting just watching TV, and this commercial came on. Hey, come on along. We're going to teach you how to walk on water. And I'm thinking, whoo, that might be nice. And then the kicker, it's going to be free. So I went down and I listened. They wanted, I think it was over $10,000 for the basic information. And I will guarantee you it was a whole lot complicated and a whole lot, I mean, intensely in-depth. And it was all a joke. Needless to say, I choked, I walked away. Then, a few years later, I am working 2 jobs, 16 hours a day to pay for all my stuff that I wanted and felt I needed. And I'm thinking to myself, there are people that are sitting on the beach, sand in their shorts, and they have $1 million a year income coming in, and they're laughing all the way, every day, everywhere and anywhere they go. They're totally out of shape, totally unable to do any kind of manual work, but yet they are very successful. And so that realization was the seed that started me looking. And I realized that there were some good old boys. Joe Kennedy was probably the most prime example. I'll just give you a little rundown on his life to give you an idea of how easy it is to do. Joe Kennedy was an Irish guy in Boston. The Irish were unloved and unwanted in Boston. Well, him and Rose kind of met and emotionally got connected and all that. Well, Rose Kennedy's father, I don't even know what her maiden name was, but he was a banker. And he realized that Rose was setting herself up for a very hard life in Boston if she stayed there with Joe Kennedy. So, Joe and Rose, after they were married, they moved to New York. Rose's father connected Joe Kennedy up with a banker there, thinking that Joe would learn something. So Joe Kennedy went to work on Wall Street before the crash of 1929. And Joe Kennedy became an entrepreneur. Well, he was running liquor from Canada into the United States on boats. He started the Chicago Furniture Mart, where this huge building, they would warehouse furniture, and then other furniture stores, big Sears, whoever, Marshall Field's there in Chicago and Midwest, they would have a sample of the furniture. And they would sell the furniture and they'd say, oh, we'll deliver it. And 3 days later, it would come. Did not come from the store, however. It came from the furniture warehouse, Furniture Mart is what it's called, there in Chicago. That institution, the Furniture Mart there in Chicago, is still part of the Kennedy financial empire. Joe Kennedy, he really learned how to do it, and he worked it. He became an ambassador to England at the beginning, I think, of World War II. Joe Kennedy was extremely successful. And All it was just simply knowing the tricks and being in the right place at the right time. That is the whole thing about doing it. You have to know what you're doing and what the timing is. And that is what I'm going to try to teach. Today, it's going to be this first session, pretty much introductory, and explain the progression of things. There will be some handouts, and for those of you who are watching on the internet, that will be a display item that you can copy down, stop the program, copy it onto a piece of paper, and you will have the outlines and notes and whatever you need. I'm not big on notes, by the way, because I'm not an intellectual, like I say. Okay, a lot of this material that I am doing and this book is helpful, but it's not mandatory. So if you want to go, buy it, I will say thank you right now. But if you don't, learn, take notes, do your thing. Anyway, a lot of this is also talked about in different ways and so forth in a book called Think and Grow Rich. I tend to want to go to the Bible and do it from a biblical point of view. And Think and Grow Rich, it was made, I think, in the 1920s, 1930s, something like that. And it was totally secular. It was not religious in any shape, form, or size. So, let me make a little detour from my notes here, because one of the things that is in the Bible is very important is the whole book of James. And I'm going to make a statement right now that I would like for everybody, before they look at the second lesson, to go read that book. It's only 4 chapters. You could knock it out in a half hour, an hour, something like that. Basically, the book of James is not that theological. What it says is, get your priorities straight first. Food, shelter, clothing, and transportation, and then start thinking about the philosophical and religious, theological stuff. Maybe that is the reason that book of James is not talked about very much in churches. Most pastors, they want to talk about the philosophical and theological things. And that's well and good. I'm not going to argue about that at all. I totally agree with that in a correct setting. But a lot of people are really, really struggling. They're hurting. They want to do things. They want to go places, and they don't know how to get there. So this is a way to put wheels under your theology, to get you moving, and to be able to help these missions projects or, outreach programs or, building programs, whatever. So, Book of James is going to be one of the things that I recommend. The other thing that I'm going to recommend that you do before you look at the second lesson is sit down, go out to a park, take a drive, whatever. Think about how you would live your life if you had no financial constraints. I'm not talking about you all of a sudden deciding to go sin greatly. There's words in the Bible about sin abounding, and I'm not recommending that at all. But the way I'm dressed right now, t-shirt, jeans, this is my choice because I don't care what other people think about me. I live my own life, my own way. I'm just an old guy that's retired, and I can be as eccentric as I want, and I am successful enough, or I guess unsuccessful if you look at it certain ways, that this is what it is. So when I started thinking about Do I want to drive around in an upscale Rolls Royce, a Cadillac, a great big urban assault vehicle, $40,000 Ram pickup, or ... Well, I decided that I'm going to live good, but I'm going to fly under the radar. I don't want to get in anybody's face, no conflicts, not show off, just be plain vanilla. That's my lifestyle. There are other people, they might want to be a little more noticeable, be a little more in the center of things. And if that's your personality, you're extroverted, and that's your calling, then go for it. But integrity is one of the things that you really, really need to concentrate on. With the principles that I'm going to teach you, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. And integrity, communication, cooperation, collaboration, these are all wonderful concepts. And if you really want to think about those concepts, there's a guy, I don't think he's alive anymore. His name is Zig Ziglar. And his training was as a minister, but he never could work that avenue. So he became a motivational speaker. And at one point, along toward the end of his career, he had put together 52 principles, which I just named a few here. And the thrust was, this was going to go into elementary schools. Kids were going to focus for 1 week on each of these principles in their class. And when they got done of the school year, they were going to see whether or not there was a great improvement or not in these kids' thinking and their approach to life and so forth. It was excellent, the way I heard about it. I was at a motivational seminar when I heard about this. And feedback that I heard later was that it was good. So, something you might want to go on the internet, look up Zig Ziglar, and see what he has to say about things. Okay, now, in the audience, there's going to be visual learners, kinesthetic learners, musicians, in many cases. They learn how to work a keyboard or a guitar, whatever, and drums, but it's muscle patterns, and they improve, and they get better, and they become very good at what they do. One of the movies that talks about that is Bohemian Rhapsody. And you don't need to go watch the movie, but if you just look on the internet at the piano, the original songs, the orchestrations versions of that song, you will see all kinds of ways that kinesthetic learners can express themselves. I forget what there's 4 different styles. I'm not an intellectual, so anyway, people can check into that if you want. Okay, reading, listening, doing, and then another one in the School of Hard Knocks, pain and poverty is what I call it. And kind of in parents, you can also include stupidity. And I am the poster child of pain and poverty and stupidity, I'll tell you. Okay, now, I need to stress this point pretty intensely. This is the disclaimer. As I talk right now, this is the date that it is. It's 2018. By the time you watch this, it's going to be further on down the road. Months, years, whatever. and I don't have a clue who you are, where you are, what you're doing. I don't know nothing. So if anybody decides that they're going to sue me, forget it. I'm putting you on notice right now that I will do my best, integrity, I will do my best to not give you a snow job and not to pump you full of sunshine. I don't want to see you glowing in the dark. And what you will learn will be applicable in your life. And it's so easy. It really is. So, my disclaimer, don't sue me. Okay, on the back here is a little blurb that I wrote. The publisher said, oh, you gotta have something on the back. That's the best real estate and blah, blah, blah. And you gotta push your book here. So I'm just gonna read this because I sweat bullets over getting this. So, welcome to your future. Have you ever said or thought, quote, I wonder, unquote, or, quote, just imagine, unquote. And then 3 hours later, had totally lost your train of thought. The information that is in this document and that I'm presenting is just for you to take these basic temporary musings that you have had with your questions and turn them into hard, permanent reality that makes a new future for you and those around you. Jesus said, and all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye will receive. And Albert Einstein, who is not exactly known for his theology, said, imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. And also, imagination is more important than knowledge. So, stress is hard. You need to really think about what you want. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? That is very, very crucial. It's important. For you that want a better future, that will take effort and a way to make it happen. The methods of how to acquire your dreams are many. What is explained here in this document is just one way, and I want to stress one way, because there's a lot of ways out there, some that are highly unethical and low integrity, and I'm thinking of the people that sell dope and stuff like that. There's also people that are telephone sales, and you buy something sight unseen, and then 3 months later, you have nothing but hot air. You call, the phones are disconnected, et cetera, but your money has been taken already. So, high integrity, very important. Okay, now, there is a verse in the Bible, and this verse was what started this whole complete process. It's Proverbs 29:18, where there is no hope. In some translations it say where there is no vision. Where there is no hope, the people perish. The second part of that verse says, but happy is the man whose mind is focused on the Lord. And I can just totally buy into that, because when I read that verse, I thought, oh, I'm going to have success. And then I spent almost 3 years beating my head against a wall, trying to figure out, what is my hope? What is my vision? I had a verse, but I didn't know anything about, how to do whatever. So, again, stay tuned. You're going to learn. And it's really simple. Okay, this little chart on the front here which you will see a handout of later on. There's a little part right here that's not on the graphic. It says, quick, fast, easy, and real. And that's the truth. This is a very visual sort of approach that I have, because again, I'm not the smartest person in the world. And so by seeing things, I can understand. And once I understand, I can then do whatever. And it's really, really simple. I just can't stress the simple part fast enough and hard enough. By the way, if anybody wants this book, it's on Amazon Books. Okay, moving right along, we come to Bull Boom Bear Bust. That is a website, and it is one of the better websites for how to get a handle on this stuff. Another really excellent website is called X22. Don't ask me where that came from. All I know is it's there. And they take finance, politics, Federal Reserve Board issues, the Bible, and they just do a huge mashup. And they just put it out there. On the X22 site, I'm still trying to figure out whether they're liberal or whether they're conservative, and I don't know. It's that simple. Some of this is really, really liberally oriented. Some of these sites that you will find, they're going to be very conservative oriented. I'm just going to leave it up to you to figure out which way you want to go. Now, the beginning of this book is, by the way, I'm going to be using this book to kind of direct my thinking, but again, you don't have to buy the book. Okay, this information is for everybody, and especially you, the listener. So we got that all done. Okay, this is a very important idea. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with just your first step. That is an old, I think, Oriental aphorism. And, when I graduated from high school, I told you I was not a rocket science guy. I knew that the community that I was in was not exactly a hotbed of success. So I needed to do something. And part of that was, this was 1966, should we say? 65. I graduated in June of 65. By the end of 65, I had military, they had the draft then, I had military breathing down my neck. And so I signed up, and I went into the Marine Corps in early 66. That was very educational. And it opened my eyes to a lot of different ways to do things, to think, go places, whatever. And then God intervened in my life. They found a birth defect in my eye, and all of a sudden I was sitting on the curb again. However, that process definitely changed me. I was not the same person a year later after having all these experiences and so forth. Again, nobody ripped my head open and reprogram my brain or anything. It was just a slow, gradual process of enlightening myself. So, this is a way for you, the listener, to understand, to change, to grow, to set yourself up for a much, much better future. If you keep on doing the same thing that you're doing right now for the next year, next 5 years, whatever, where are you going to be? The answer is going to be right where you are right now. In a lot of cases, that's going to be you're overdrawn on your bank account, your car's running on fumes, and you're not wearing exactly Armani dress suits. So, think about where you want to go, what you want to do. And so, I want you to understand too that I have this written down here, and this is my introduction. It says, "Dear friend." And I put that in there because I want the thought process and the camaraderie and the rapport for me and you, the communication process, collaboration, cooperation that I mentioned earlier. I want that to be there. If it's not there, I'm just going to be a talking head. You're going to blow me off. It's going to be of no value. So, we have to have our heads on straight, and we got to be going in the right direction. Now, chapter 1. That's what I'm looking at here. I want everybody listening right now to get ready to pause your video and take a second. And I want you to, well, before I tell you what to do, you have a choice. You can either get up and walk out, turn the thing off, whatever, end it, no value to you, hot air, or you can keep listening. But for right now, take an inventory of the situation right now, right here, where you're at. The temperature, the sound level, the lighting, the comfort that you have, the aches, pains, whatever. Just do a little quick inventory. When you get done with that inventory, the question is, has your life changed or has it not changed? Some people are going to say, oh, there's no change at all. This is just an exercise in stupidity. And I would argue very strongly, there has been a massive change because you did not get up and walk out. You did not disregard what I was saying. And you did not just consider it a bunch of hot air. That ability to move forward, take steps, can make all of the difference in the world to you. Think of a child. When they start first grade, they're 6 years old. And they go to school each day, and they learn a few things. Some kids are bright, some are not so bright. Summers, then back to school again, on and on and on. And you go for 12 years. And then you come to high school. You graduate, hopefully. Some people don't. And then they have to do remedial whatever. Now, the person that started that process and gets to the end, are they the same person? Obviously not. They are physically very different over time, intellectually very different, emotionally very different. But the key thing is they have learned how to read, They have learned how to, hopefully, search out answers for whatever. In a lot of cases, this pain and torture and stupidity that I talked about earlier, that's your motivating factor. You have need for changing a tire, and you cannot afford to have somebody come and do it for you. You don't have coverage on your insurance for that, on your car insurance. So you are forced to learn how to do this for yourself. When you get done, did you make a big change? No, it was a very small change. And that is basically what I'm going to lead you down the yellow brick road. And when we get done, oh, you're going to love what's happening to you, I hope. Now, speaking of what's happening to you, I would suggest very strongly that you take it with a big grain of salt. The reason I say that is there are parents, children, friends, co-workers, church members, anybody and everybody. They want to hold you close. They want you to stay in the rut that you're in with them. And if you become highly, highly successful, all of a sudden, you're not with them anymore. And that desire to hold people close, it's a very fundamental thing. My mom, she's no longer walking around on the face of this earth, but she did not understand anything about accounting, finances, whatever. She never even, when I graduated from high school, she never even showed me how to balance a checkbook. And that was kind of catastrophic in my life at the time I found out. I had to go search out how to do that on my own. So the changes in your life can be positive, they can be negative. Understand which ones are which. It'll probably be self-evident to you, the stress levels and pain and poverty, whatever. But run with the success. Don't stay stupid. Don't stay in pain. Don't have poverty. It's so negative. I see people all the time in third world countries. And these people are good people. They really are. But they don't understand. They just don't have the resources and the knowledge and nobody to coach them or mentor them. And these people are stuck where they're at forever. And I mean, they literally forever. They will die in poverty, all because nobody reached out to them. Here in this country, we have the internet. That is absolutely the best educational thing that ever was invented. If you have a question, believe me, you can find an answer. You might not like the answer, but you can find an answer. Okay, moving right along. The question, we're coming up on quit time here for this first lesson. I think I'm going to save this little thought for the next lesson. It's conspicuous consumption or investing in your future. Do you blow it or do you not blow it? So I'm going to save that for the next lesson. So, thank you very much.